capital, they're scheming in the night, selling out our freedoms for a pocket full of spite. From the border to the heartland, the wolves are at the door, within truth and tearing down what our fathers fought before. But I'm a patriot soldier, standing tall and true, with a Bible in my hand and old glory flying blue. Ain't apologizing for loving this land. We'll fight the forces of evil with fire in our stand. God bless the USA, we'll never back down. Patriots for freedom, wearing that crown.
SK, did you see the new clock that they made for us?
I did.
Did you see that?
It's good. I love it. Thank you.
It only
guys.
took me like a month of complaining about the funeral home lobby waiting music in the background. And the fellas came through. Thank you, fellas.
We can't really complain though, because
Yeah,
they're
they
getting
do it
paid
all for free.
exactly $0 for this.
They're getting paid just about as much as we are to do the show.
Yeah.
Just about as much. But they do a fantastic job. And by the way, guys, I owe the back office production team a bit of an apology, because on Friday, I was supposed to close the show with an absolute incredible announcement. And I see they've been doing it in the chat already. They've been kind of priming the pump for everybody. Folks, we're inviting the back office production team onto the show on Friday for a bit of a takeover. I have absolutely no idea what that means. I have no clue what they have planned. They won't show any of us. But from what I'm hearing, what they're planning to do on Friday has never been done before, and it will never be done again until about 2 months before the election. And my understanding is that the back office team, Clipmaster Jake, who, by the way, came through in the clutch today for me, and then guarding, have been working on this thing for a while, but they won't tell anybody what it is. So you do not want to miss Friday's after-hour show, allegedly, because it sounds like it's going to be pretty exciting, and I'm pretty pumped as well. And by the way, another quick announcement, and I forgot to reach out to him, but we may have a special guest here in 2 weeks. We might.
In 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I saw young Jeffrey today. I didn't
Not
get to
young
talk to him
Jeffrey.
because he was working. I know. I'm just
Oh.
saying we were supposed to have him on a long time ago, and
Yeah.
I never followed up.
We need to get him on. But I was so in the transit as we were moving from the Southern Command up to the Northern Command, and you guys can see I'm back up in the Northern Command where we'll be for just a few days. We have a wedding of the son and soon to be daughter-in-law of my family's best friends in the world, just some of the most incredible people on Saturday. My wife is making a gigantic charcuterie board because she is gifted at that type of stuff. It's going to be massive. We're talking like to feed over 100 people. This thing is going to be huge. It's going to take up like a couple tables, like multiple layers. She's got it all worked out. So we got to do that this weekend. And then we're heading back down to the Southern Command for a few weeks before we come back up here for the 4th of July. So anyway, I was in transit on the way back, and I was, listening to all the podcasts, doing all the things that I like to do when I'm driving for hours and hours and hours. And I decided to jump into Older Millennials Live at like 2 o'clock in the morning, because I didn't get back to the house here until probably 3, almost 4 in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. And that was one of the best lives I have heard in a very long time. I mean, you want to talk about somebody who was systematically dismantling every single argument that all of the sock puppet accounts, all of the, SK, you know who these people are. You know these leftists that come on
Yes.
these platforms that are just total rubes and idiots.
I do, but I have a question because
Yeah.
I went in his live for a few minutes and said hi. I think it was probably towards the beginning of his stream, but did you notice that TikTok Studio is now automatically bleeping bad
It is-
words?
annoying things in the world, considering he uses the F-bomb like every other sentence.
Well, I was like, is he doing that? There's no way he's keeping up with this, right?
Yeah. No, he
And
wasn't doing it. Yeah.
no, I didn't find that out till today. Somebody said something about it. I was like, wait, that's automatic now?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So I saw somebody asked, who was that? Somebody asked, whose live was it? Anyway, I saw somebody ask who, so it was older millennial, Joe's. I jumped in his live and I listened to him for about 45 minutes, literally walk this young anti-Israel, anti-Semite through the history of the conflicts that Israel has dealt with since their founding back in the 1940s. And at the end of the conversation, this kid was left with no other option except to agree with Joe that Israel has done everything they can possibly do to try to create peace in that region for themselves and their neighbors, and has absolutely, their enemies have done everything to try to stop it. And yet this kid would not, refused to accept the reality of the world around him. It was masterful. But anyway, I got on because I had a bit of a bone to pick with him over his argument that the Iran conflict that we're engaged in right now does not benefit the United States, because his perspective is that it doesn't. My perspective is that it does, and it's absolutely critically important to the success of the Trump agenda and our ability to be able to pull our troops ultimately out of the Middle East so that we are no longer acting as the Middle East police force. That's not our role. So I spent about a half an hour talking with him, and he was like, how come you guys haven't had me on your show yet? And I was like, great question. So
well, he was on Gary's podcast
I know.
last week, and I was in the comments for that live. It was the night we didn't have one, Wednesday, I think.
Yep, it was good.
And yeah, it was good. And yeah, it was cool because Gary put up one of my comments from the comments section, and he's like, I know SK, and like told the exact same story that I told Jen like a week before OM was even on there.
Yep. So I'm going to try to get him on. He said that he should be free a week from this coming Friday to join us. And if you thought last Friday was a total shit show, I can only imagine what the Friday after next will look like if we can get OM on here. And Devil Dog, no, Nom did not survive last Friday. He was in the doghouse all weekend. But that's not the reason why he's not here today.
The actual doghouse, because they definitely don't have a doghouse. The dogs sleep in the bed. I bet he had to sleep on the couch or outside. But
I would be willing to bet that he slept
don't have a
somewhere
house.
other than his bed that night. He got himself in a lot of trouble. I mean, for as much trouble as a grown man can possibly get himself into, because let's be honest, he is a grown man. He served our country for 8 years. If he wants to get a little shitty drunk every once in a while, he's more than capable and able to do that. But that's not why he's not here tonight. So he is actually out doing the entrepreneurial stuff that Nom is well known for. Yeah, he was Devil Dog in rare form for sure. If you want to see him like that more often, you just got to catch him on a TikTok live at 2:00 in the morning, because that's how he is every night on TikTok live.
So yes, and we used to make him get off of TikTok live when he
used to
was
text
drinking,
him.
and we don't anymore. So
yeah,
there's
no,
that.
I used to text him when we were on lives together. I'm like, dude, it's time for you to go to bed because nobody can understand you and you're being a giant jerk. But anyway, he's actually up in the Northern Command right now, whining and dining some potential customers and clients for his startup company that he's starting. So he's doing productive things to try to grow the future of his business, and he will be back with us hopefully on Wednesday. But we actually have a show for you tonight. I was a little worried waking up this morning thinking like, what the hell are we going to talk about today? Because I don't know, SK, I don't know if you suffer from this. Chat, help me out here. I don't know if you guys suffer from this, but there are times, periods in my political analysis and my podcasting and my content creation world where I'm having a hard time getting interested in talking about any of this stuff because it's all so fake.
If we talked about the research we do, it would be all new information that
I know
nobody's ever heard before.
Well, then we need to make a point of doing that. It's hard to do that though, because it takes a lot of planning. So we need to figure out how we can plan for
Not
it.
really. I sent you guys that one post today and gave you guys tons of information about it that I didn't even post on the internet.
Well, then we need to make maybe Wednesday we can do that topic. How about that? Wednesday, we're doing SK's topic. Hold us accountable to that, folks. We're doing SK's topic on Wednesday. So you got to bring the stuff. You got to bring it. But we actually have a show for you today. There's a lot of stuff that's happened just in the last 24 hours, but really in the last 72 hours or so. We're going to talk a little bit about some election updates because here on the Patriot Source podcast, we care about the midterms. We care about what's happening in our election system. The Spencer Pratt, just absolute disaster in LA. We got to spend a few minutes on that. Ro Khanna is running around raising hands with an actual Nazi, which is fascinating. We got some stuff going on in Ohio that's pretty interesting. President Trump has been very active on True Social. I actually think, and I think I can prove it to you, I think that the ability of the House of the Democrats to take the House of Representatives is rapidly slipping from their fingertips. So we're going to spend a few minutes on that. Of course, we're going to do an Iran war update because things are constantly changing and moving in the Iranian conflict. We got to spend some time there. And I titled this Information Warfare is All They Have to Run On, because I don't know about you guys, but I spent several days this weekend just staring at my social media platforms, banging my head against the wall, listening to the absolute psychological operation slop narratives that are being pushed around this Section 224 of the NDAA. It is baffling to me how easy these people think they can get away with just flat out lying about what this and everything else says. So we're going to spend a few minutes talking about the NDAA and Section 224 because no, it does not authorize a takeover of the U.S. military, nor does it allow for an infusion between Israel and the U.S. military. So I thought that we would do the one thing that most people probably have not yet done and actually read the section because it only takes about 4 minutes to read it.
It's very short. I don't know why people didn't read it the day it came out and everyone started talking about it because that's what I did. And even today, I was on TikTok for a couple hours and the liberals were coming up and they were like, yeah, what about Israel trying to take over the U.S. military? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Did you read it? Because you should.
Of course they didn't read it. So we're going to read it. So you guys don't have an excuse of not having read it because it doesn't take very long to get through. It's very short. It's 5 very short pages. And then Thomas Massie, I think just, I don't know, there's something wrong with this guy. He pulled another Epstein event on the House floor today. He gave a speech on the USS Liberty. It's only about 5 minutes long. If we have time, we may pull that up and listen to the whole speech because while some of the information he gave in there was interesting and it was largely accurate, I think we're missing the forest for the trees with what he did today. It is obvious to me that this guy is hell bent on trying to destroy whatever cooperative relationship the United States could possibly have with one of our most important strategic partners in the Middle East. And I think we need to understand why he wants to do that. Carmelo Anthony Trial is going on today. That's a bit of a shit show.
I haven't heard anything about that. Nothing.
You mean
What are
you
you
haven't
talking
spent?
about?
You mean you haven't spent like the last several days on your TikTok lives arguing with people about
Dude,
why
that's
it's not
all
okay to?
people want to talk about. Although I'm not going to complain because we've moved past, for the current time, we've moved past E. Jean Carroll and J6 and Trump's felonies. So
Well, I mean,
progress.
if it were up to these people, then the entire concept of self-defense would be totally rewritten based on the color of your skin. And I don't think we can allow that to happen. So we're going to spend a few minutes going over the goings on of the Carmelo Anthony trial, because I have a feeling this dude is going to fry. I think he's either going to fry or I think he's going to spend the rest of his life in jail.
They can't execute. The Supreme Court ruled that you can't be executed if you're under the age of 18.
Is he under 18?
Yep.
Oh, he's a teenager. Okay. Well, then put him in jail for the rest of his life. That's fine. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm pretty sure in Texas, you don't have to prove premeditation for first-degree murder.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think some of the testimony may have indicated that he probably didn't go there planning to do it, but he certainly invited the conflict for sure.
I don't know if you want to get into this right now, but my whole thing that I can't get anyone to answer for me is, for self-defense, your life has to be in imminent danger or like serious bodily harm. And serious bodily harm isn't an ass beating. It's like you're going to be in the hospital for a bit. I mean, serious bodily harm is not getting your ass beat.
Well, there are actual instruments that are expected to be used if you are making a case that you feared your life was in danger of serious bodily harm.
Right.
Certain things have to be involved.
And we aren't talking about like a 6'4", 300-pound man and a 5'2", 100-pound woman where an ass beating could legitimately kill you. We're not talking about that. We're talking about two teenage boys that are within like 30 or 40 pounds of each other. Like a little bit of weight or height doesn't mean your life is in danger. But aside from that, there's no way that he could have thought for a second that that Austin had a weapon. He knew he had a weapon. So none of this makes sense because you're at a sporting event at a high school where weapons are not allowed. There's no way that he could even in his brain think, yeah, this guy has a weapon. He's going to kill me.
Well, particularly, I mean, let's put a pin in this because I want to get back to this. I want to spend the time necessary to talk through it, but between me and you and some of the back office things that are going on in the production area, I don't have any of that stuff ready to show yet. So
oh, you're good. I know I sent a few things, but I only put a couple of timeline cleanses in there because I was too busy to screen record. So.
It's all in the Dropbox, but the way that StreamYard works is you can only put in a certain number of graphics and videos in at the same time, and it's all loaded up with the first couple topics that we're going to go through, and then we will get to Carmelo Anthony after I clean that out. So
perfect.
Did you also see, folks, that the Senate, particularly Mark Warner, who was one of the key instrumental players in the Russian collusion hoax, who used or at least turned a blind eye when the intelligence community and the FBI decided to use the FISA courts, particularly 702, to spy on the Trump administration, has now moved to block reauthorization of FISA and 702 for the explicit purpose of trying to stop Donald Trump from naming Pulte as the DNI. Can you believe that? We're going to talk about that too, that we have to spend some time on that.
Nothing shocks me anymore.
SK, you had some things on your list that I didn't mention. What do you want to talk about too today?
I like to just go over like just a list. We don't even have to get into detail about it, but
Cool.
Obviously the Israel-Iran stuff that you mentioned, Trump's comments on BB, crazy, right? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like it's a little bit, we can get into that later if we get time.
Yep.
Trump at Madison Square Garden for Game 3 of the NBA Finals tonight. And people are pissed. Like, why, when you're president, are you all of a sudden not allowed to go to sporting events? That doesn't make sense to me. Also, CNN was playing a montage of Trump being at the NBA games at, like, the Knicks games. I mean, like, that's what they played.
Look, you got to give these guys a little bit of grace on this because they spent 4 years under Biden knowing that he had sundowned by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you never saw him after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's a little bit shocking to them to see a president who's actually enjoying nightlife as an adult because they're not used to that.
Right.
That's
and
right.
then there was a lawsuit filed Saturday, and then apparently they filed a different complaint yesterday. I was reading it Saturday and yesterday, but I was reading the original one, which I thought the language in it was crazy. Well, they changed the language and refiled it. And fun fact, all the news stations are running with the new version. So you have to dig to find the old one. Luckily, I still had it up and saved. But also the California elections and the shenanigans taking place in California. And the Senate Republicans passed the DHS funding. It's now going on to the House. Trump calls on Thune to fire the Senate parliamentarian. We can talk about that a little bit.
Should have happened a long ass time ago.
Well, and there's also the way that JD Vance can overrule the Senate parliamentarian, but we can talk about that later.
Yep.
And then there's early voting in Georgia tomorrow. Several states have elections tomorrow, so make sure if you have elections, you get out and vote. Ohio passed voter ID.
Yep.
We have a Trump Truth Social post that I put in there if you want to put that up later. And Trump did a tele-rally for Lindsey Graham and Pamela Yvette in South Carolina.
Yeah, Nancy Mace is pissed about that.
Yeah, because he's definitely not endorsing Nancy Mace.
Nope.
And And then there's the congressional report on the Minnesota welfare fraud. And we can talk about that. We can go into that in detail if you want, because
Let's do it.
Crazy.
All right, folks. Are you guys about ready? Paul, to answer your question real quick. No, he is not still recuperating. He is an absolute trooper. He was up before either SK or I sending messages to us the next day. I think that he's just at the point where like he's numb to it all and just wakes up and goes about his day the next day. Like most 40-something-year-old men. Not me though. I would not. I'd be out for like days if I got like that again. Dang. Anyway, let's do it. So, folks, I have a question for you. Wait, what's this? Hold on. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
What is that? There we go. Folks, I have a question for you. Did you honestly expect the machine in California, the communist in California, did you honestly expect Spencer Pratt to be able to make it to the general election runoff? I mean, seriously, ask yourself the question, did you honestly believe that they were going to let this outsider, somebody who challenged the system, challenged the political establishment, and was speaking the language of the average person in LA, did you actually think they were going to allow him to run in a general election? Did you? Because when he was up by 10 points over Nithya Raman, whatever the hell her name is, the media and all of their surrogates decided to just wait. Let's just wait. We're not going to call it. No, hold on. We don't. No, we're not going to call it. But within minutes of when she surpassed him in the vote count, boom, it was over. Over.
But here's the deal. This is what I don't understand. If there's no fraud in California, which I mean, I don't even know how anyone could argue this at that point. At this point, wouldn't it be smarter to allow Spencer Pratt to go on to the general and then they can do their shenanigans in the general election? Why are they making it so obvious?
No, they're making it obvious because they truly don't care, because they don't think that anything is ever going to happen to them. And they are sending a message loud and clear to anybody who would dare to try to stand up to the political establishment communist in California. It doesn't matter how hard you try. It doesn't matter how much support you develop. It doesn't matter. You are not going to be allowed to win. You will not be allowed to win. I mean, even the president is standing up and saying it's not possible for Spencer Pratt to have lost the LA runoff after the big lead he had. Third world nation, rigged elections. Now they'll be working on great guy Steve Hilton. Won't have results for possibly 2 weeks, according to officials. 2 weeks. That's what they're now saying it's going to take.
They have like a month. I think they said it would be like July something. Like the day after the elections, they said it would be done like July.
Yeah.
Like 3rd or 2nd, 5th, something like that, somewhere around July 4th. But I just, do you think those were crocodile tears when Raman was crying on election night?
Nope, I don't think she had any idea that the fix was in. I don't think she had any.
Did she concede? Because I thought when she was crying on stage at the podium, it was like a concession speech.
It doesn't matter if it's a concession. She can take her concession back. Those are not like binding. It's not like a binding agreement that says I quit. It's basically like, it's not. I mean, Paul Prater's right. It's not a federal issue, but you know what is a federal issue? Fraud.
Yeah.
Fraud is a federal issue.
And
doesn't matter.
There are statutes, and the Constitution allows also for Congress, as well as there's an office in the executive branch to investigate election fraud. And that is one of the issues with January 6th, because and again, Trump had a lot of self-control. As much as they want to say, you know, all of this was Trump's fault and he was doing all this crazy stuff, that's not true, because the office that was supposed to be investigating the fraud was intentionally slow rolling things. This is in reports from Congress.
That's
You
right.
can look it up. They were intentionally slow rolling things, and Trump knew as much, and he didn't flip his lid. I would have flipped my lid.
I mean, there are recordings of political establishment types in California just openly saying, we will continue to count the votes until we have the right winners. I mean, we knew this was going to happen. This is why for weeks I was telling people, don't get your hopes up. They're never going to let this guy win. They are never going to allow him to win. I would argue that Steve Hilton will also not be allowed to be in the general election. They're going to find a way. If they can find a way, they're going to find a way to kick him out of the top two also. You watch.
I just think it is absolutely statistically impossible for all of these mail-in ballots and late ballots that are coming in to be for Rahman.
Look at this.
Yeah, look
at this.
Bass. Are you telling me that no votes came in for Bass?
Look at this, folks. Look at this. This shows you the trend of the vote totals, the vote counts by candidate over time from the beginning of election night and beyond. And you can see the point over on the far left, it has Bass at the top at 36%. It has Pratt at 30%. And it has whatever the hell, Rahman down here at like 20.5%. And the only candidate that saw any improvement in their total share from the end of election night and beyond was the third place candidate. The third place candidate is the only one. Everybody else saw their vote share reduce, or in the case of the leader, hold steady and then start to fall. And this right here, this is what happened right there. Do you see that peak right here in the green? It only took one dump to make it happen. Where have you seen this before, folks?
Oh, on the
Where
chart
have you
from
seen
the
this?
elections where it goes straight up for the Democrats and then goes over like in multiple states, but in the presidential election too, right? Wasn't there a dump in 2020?
This one?
Yeah.
This one. Where have you seen this, folks? You saw this in Wisconsin. You saw this in Pennsylvania. You saw it in Michigan. You saw it in Georgia. You saw it in Arizona. You saw it all around the contested states in 2020, where suddenly this giant batch of votes just show up out of nowhere, and almost 100% of those went for Joe Biden. In the case of Rahman and whatever the hell their names are, from the end of election night on, she saw over 40% of all the total counted votes went her way. And yet every vote that was counted, that was received on or before election day, 20% went her way. She doubled her proportion of the vote share by mail-in ballots.
This is statistically impossible. I mean, I'm not a mathematician, but I have common sense, and this is statistically impossible, in my opinion.
Well,
also,
wait till you see this.
Congress has to ensure, it's in the Constitution, that Congress ensures a Republican form of government, not Republican with a capital R, Republican lowercase r. We are a republic. It is our job to ensure that elections, I mean, this is how you prevent states from doing this.
That's right.
So they're going to have to start doing their job.
Well, here's the thing, folks. So SK keeps saying that it's statistically impossible. Somebody decided to ask Grok that question. And I actually went, and I was going to do this myself, and then I came across this post instead. So it says, Grok, what are the actual chances that a candidate who has received 30% of the general vote gets 0 votes in a late night ballot drop in a mayoral election? What are the percentage? What is the possibility, the chances that that happens? And look what Grok says. Assuming independent votes with true P equals 0.3 support, P0 votes in 24,000 equals 0.7 to the 24,000th power, 2.25 times 10 to the negative 300 or 3,718. What does that mean? That's 1 and 4.4 times 10 to the 3,717, smaller than picking one specific atom in the universe at random repeatedly.
Wow.
Statistically,
so not even lightning. That's not anything. Picking one specific atom in the universe at random repeatedly. Come on.
Well, so years ago, I'm a bit of a nerd about this kind of stuff. I love like creation science and all that. That's why I get really excited about talking like megaliths and all that. So I read a book years ago called The Case for Creator by a guy named Lee Strobel, who's written a whole bunch of different books on this kind of stuff. And that book is designed around trying to understand the possibility of creation happening without an intelligent designer. And they did a lot of statistical analysis in that book like this one. What you just saw in terms of possibility of that question happening the way that it happened is almost the same as it is possible or not possible for life to exist without some form of an intelligent designer. Like that's how far outside the realm of possibility it is. It's like standing on the moon with a dart in your hand and being able to hit a bullseye situated on the other side of the earth 10 times in a row. But you're at the moon. Like that's how statistically probable it is for these results to have played out the way they're playing out.
So I wasn't that far off by saying
No.
it's statistically impossible. I haven't seen any actual statistics on the probability, but and I suck at math. Those numbers and those math equations, I was like, I don't understand this. But I mean, in my opinion, common sense dictates that
That's right.
this isn't possible.
That's right. But it's not just happening to Spencer Pratt. It was easier to do to Pratt because the vote totals are different. They're smaller, so it's easier to do. But it's also happening to Hilton as well. I mean, you can see Javier Garcia, or Baccaria, sorry, is now leading. Tom Steyer is rapidly closing. I bet you by the time this is all over, you're going to see Tom Steyer overtake Steve Hilton, and you're going to have a Democrat on Democrat general election, and you're going to have a Democrat on Democrat election in LA, exactly the way they planned it. You watch, mark it right here, folks. That's what's going to happen.
What percentage of the vote is in those charts? Do you know? Because I'm curious to know the number of registered voters in California and in LA and how many people actually voted, because this looks like a lot to me.
I don't know, and I think we can find out. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter, because just like what happened in the mayoral race, they said that they were at like 61%, and then suddenly they dropped it back down again. They're like, oh, wait, we've got more ballots. Oh, how did this happen? Because the way the Constitution or the way the law is written in the state of California, they give the most optimal opportunities for people to be able to vote, which basically means if a batch of votes just show up somewhere, they're going to count it, because that's the most optimal way for people to vote. So the share of votes that one could possibly get will just grow and grow and grow and grow until they have the right proportions that will put two Democrats at the top of the ticket. Mark my word. If I'm wrong, I will come out and say I was wrong about this, but I'm not wrong. They are going to steal it at both the governor race and the LA mayor race. Can they get away with this?
Everybody's correcting your pronunciation of names in the comments.
I don't care. I'm from the mid. How many times have we talked about this, folks? I'm from the Midwest. There is not that many things that we get to hang our hats on here in the Midwest. Ohio State football and the fact that I get to make up my own pronunciation of words. That's part of being a Midwesterner. I'm sorry. That's the way it works. I can add S's and R's to things. I can call people derpa because I can't pronounce their last name. I can do whatever I want when it comes to pronouncing things. That's just the way it works. Sorry. Somebody asked the question, how can they get away with this? Well, I don't know if they can. So the fellas,
they're looking into it, it seems.
Yeah, the fellas, what just happened to is this it? Hold on, where'd it go? Where'd it go? The fellas had sent me something, and I want to pull it up if I can find it. All right, I'll pull it up this way. Where's it at, fellas? You sent me a Glenn Beck clip where he was talking to, there it is. Hopefully it'll play.
You expect people to be charged. Can you say with what, and you feel confident enough you have enough evidence?
I will just say it will be election fraud charges in the next, I hate to put timelines on things, but 1 to 2 months. I believe we need the some of these results to be certified so we can prove some of the allegations. But we will be charging some people. I can't get in too much, and mostly, Glenn, I mean, it's not just DOJ rules, but we also want to protect innocent people. If we get something wrong, we don't want someone to be tainted with the stain of an investigation until we're able to prove that in court. So I can't get into too much, but just know that at this point right now, we're wide open for investigations. If anyone knows anything, direct evidence. I know people have theories and they have ideas, and what we need right now are witnesses. If you've witnessed anything, if someone voted in your name and you found out someone voted for you, we want to know about that. If you saw someone collecting ballots in a suspicious way or doing something odd with ballots, we want to know about that. Those are the kind of things we need direct evidence of right now so we can launch into deeper investigations.
That's right. Well, he asked the question. He said, we're looking for people with direct evidence. And apparently there is already starting to be people come forward. So there's a whole bunch of people on social media, particularly on X, that are talking about going to their vote registrar's office in California and checking to see if their ballot has been received and whether it's been counted. And this one in particular, darn it, hold on, I got to take this down. This one in particular apparently shows that they received initially, and I have the screenshot, I didn't put it up. They originally had a screenshot of the registrar receiving their vote. And then when they went back to determine whether or not their vote was counted, now suddenly it's saying it's not available, doesn't exist. So votes are missing out of their totals. And you want to know who these people all voted for? Take a wild guess.
The Republican.
Yeah, that's right. They voted for the Republicans. That's right. Go ahead.
There's a girl that comes in the TikTok lives frequently from California, and there were ballots sent to a family member that she knows. She sent it all in to the AG. Is that who it is? Or that? Yeah.
Like that's gonna matter.
Yeah, right. But she sent it in there and somewhere else, I believe. The photos and all those things. They got tons of ballots. Their 12-year-old child was even sent a ballot with her name on it.
That is just absolute insanity. So, folks, here's the deal. I don't know what's going to happen with the Supreme Court ruling. I hear there's one coming and a lot of people are anticipating the Supreme Court is going to rule that Election Day is one day and anything received after Election Day is illegal and should not be counted on. I don't know if that's going to impact these races. It should, but I don't know if it will. SK, do you have an opinion on that?
Yes, it should at least have to be postmarked. Okay, if you're going to allow mail-in balloting at all, which I think that's questionable, but if you're going to allow it for no reason, like if you have a reason, I get it. That absentee voting is not the same as mail-in balloting, in my opinion. But it should at least have to be postmarked by Election Day, right? I mean, they're allowing handwritten dates.
Yeah.
Handwritten dates.
Yep. They were allowing people to use gym identifications, credit cards, basically anything.
All kinds of things.
Anything.
I also it's the law in California to ask for an ID.
Yeah, that's right. But also the assistant attorney general or federal prosecutor out in LA is now also arguing that California is blocking their ability to even audit their voter rolls. So California is doing everything they can.
States doing that actually, which is crazy to me. I mean, I get the fact that there needs to be separation between the states and the federal government, and I'm a constitutionalist. I think the states should retain the rights and all those things. But at the same time, there has to be some type of oversight over the states from time to time. If there are citizens raising questions about the integrity of the elections, the federal government should be able to investigate those things and make sure that everything is kosher, because again, the federal government, Congress specifically, is to ensure a Republican form of government. This is how you get, the Civil War. I mean, this is how you get states being like, yeah, so we just decided we're not going to be a part of the union anymore. Well, I mean, you can't allow this. It should. We have a Republican form of government, small r, not party Republican. And it's to be ensured. It's Congress's job to ensure that. And somebody needs to investigate and make sure that these states are holding their elections in a manner that is consistent with a Republican form of government. You can't have people committing fraud and writing dates on envelopes and dropping them in a box and it being accepted. That is insane to me. I can't even believe that there are people that argue in favor of this. Disenfranchising voters is not saying this is the deadline. If you're 18 years or older, you're old enough to vote. That means you're old enough to pay your own bills. You know what a deadline is. You know when it has to be turned in.
That's right. Well, SK, did you see this? I did not have this on the agenda tonight, but you brought something up and I think it's worth talking about. Did you see the new USPS rule that is being proposed?
The blockchain on the envelope and the ballot. We talked about this. Nom and I talked about this, I think, when you weren't here, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. So it seems like at least the Trump administration is trying to put some type of guardrails in place and some type of controls in place so that even though they may not have the constitutional authority to direct and dictate the way states run their elections, they absolutely have oversight on how things are mailed. And it'd be interesting to see how this plays out. So if you guys already talked about that, I'm not going to spend any time on it.
No, I mean, I think it's important for people that might not have been here to understand that the Trump administration, and again, the federal government has control over the post office. And if your state's going to use the post office in order to mail ballots, that means it's then in the jurisdiction of the federal government. And they have officers and things in the post office. They have as much power as like game wardens. They can
Yeah.
seize all your shit. I mean, the post office, you don't want the post office up in your crap.
Nope.
But aside from that, I mean, I'm of the belief that I think I get the fact that these officers and monitoring the mail and things needs to happen. It has to be inspected. You know, we've had anthrax and things like that happen. You have to monitor and make sure people aren't sending things that they aren't supposed to send through the mail, all those types of things. But as much as can be privatized with the post office needs to be privatized, because the post office sucks. Also, it's a drain on our tax dollars. They cost us money. They don't even maintain themselves. They cost us a shitload of money. They don't pay their rent on time. By the way, in case you thought the federal government actually owned those buildings that the post office is in, they don't. They lease them. They do not pay their rent on time. And they are a drain on our tax dollars. And if you can track an Amazon package from the second it's put into a box until it arrives at your door and then get a picture of them delivering it, we need to be privatizing as much as we possibly can. And we need to stop having companies like Amazon and other retailers subsidizing basically the post office to keep them operational, because they suck.
That's right. That's right. So Sally had it looks like a super chat where she says, where do we go to check to make sure our deceased relatives aren't voting somewhere? I don't want my mom or anyone else I've lost voting Democrat. That is a very legitimate concern. Any state, you should be able to very quickly Google, how do I check my vote registration? Very simple. You should be able to do that with a simple Google search.
And in case you weren't aware, dead people always vote Democrat.
That's right. Always. So let's talk real quick about this proposed rule, and then I want to move on. So the post office is proposing a rule that says the Postal Service is adding a section to DM 705, Advanced Preparation and Special Postage Payment Systems, that contains the following preparation conditions when mailing ballots for general, special, or runoff federal elections. Envelope design and review standards. Would identify new standards for the envelope design and review for outbound and return ballot envelopes, which are consistent with the Post Service existing recommended best practices. So it gives new standards, the mail preparation standards. It talks a little bit about the ultimate thing here is that they're going to require access to the voter rolls in order to verify that a ballot coming back is actually to the person it was sent to, and then also a person that's registered, is the key issues that they're looking to implement with this rule. So a participation list would establish a process by which states, including authorized election officials and their mail service providers, will notify the Postal Service of the individuals to whom they are mailing a mail-in or absentee ballot, along with a unique barcode applied to the outbound and return ballot mail envelope for such individuals, such as the name and barcode of the voter. So they're going to put barcodes on there so they can track who they're being mailed to and that they're being sent back.
And for the record, it's not tied to an individual, because it is a private thing. Your vote is always private and it should always remain private. This is just like a tracking number like you would get with a Amazon package or any package you're having delivered. And there is a barcode on the envelope as it's sent to you, and then on the return envelope as well. And they're saying, I don't understand technology, so I don't get it at all. But they're saying that it is not like tracking the individual. Your vote is still private. It's not like that.
That's right. That's right. All right. So at least the Trump administration is trying to put some controls in place. Let's move on just a little bit. I noticed, SK, you threw this in here. I thought this was really interesting. I hadn't heard this yet, but it's probably because I've been living life down in the Southern Command for the last several weeks and enjoying the Southern sun and the beaches. Trump posted on his True Social account, congratulations to the Ohio State Senate for passing Senate Joint Resolution 10, which would require voter ID in Ohio elections. Democrats fought hard against this, presumably so they can cheat. Of course, it's because they want to cheat. I'm now asking all of my Republican friends in the state house to also pass this now and put a constitutional amendment on the ballot so that the great people of Ohio can vote to enshrine voter ID in the state constitution. And I'm telling you folks, this would pass in Ohio. It would pass in a heartbeat. Now, Ohio already requires some form of identification when you vote. It's not a photo ID necessarily. You can bring things. I don't know, maybe not some anymore, but I know at one point you could bring like utility bills and things like that just to prove that, or somehow try to prove that you are who you say you are, or at least you live at the address that's listed that you're registered under. But this is different. This is going to require, hopefully, a constitutional amendment that will require Ohio to be a voter ID state, which is exciting.
I would like to state for the record, just so everyone knows what an airhead I am. I voted in my state in favor of voter ID. And then shortly after that passed, I went to vote again. And it was a general election for a presidential election, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And there were also extremely important state questions and things on the ballot. And I pulled into the place to vote and tried to find my ID and could not find it. And I was like, there's no way this is happening to me right now. And I went in to vote and they were like, I need your ID. I was like, yeah, well, about that. I don't have it. And the ladies at the place know me because I vote every time and I always talk to them. And they're like, you have to have it. And I was like, I know, I voted in favor of this. And they're like, well, and I can tell they're Democrats because they were kind of like, well, I mean, that's what you get for voting in favor of voter ID. And I was like, but there's this thing called provisional ballot, and I want one of those. And they were not happy with me because in my state, a provisional ballot is sealed in a bag that is like a bank bag that zips and it locks. And it's not just the ballot. There's a whole piece of paper with a bunch of stuff that the poll workers have to fill out. And it takes time. And they were like, really, it's a lot of work. And I was like, yes, really, I am voting today. And I filled out my provisional ballot and they were not happy with me, but they helped me and they filled out all the information. And then they put it back in the bag and in front of you, they zip it and they lock it. And after the voting is completed at that location, they physically drive those zip bags to the county election board and turn them in. And they count those provisional ballots after all the other votes have been counted. And I went back on and checked to see if my vote counted. And sure enough, it did.
Good.
So even if you have voter ID, you still have a provisional ballot. Don't let them tell you you can't vote. You can fill out a provisional ballot. And after they check all of your information and ensure that you are in fact a registered voter in that state, they count your vote.
Good. They should count your vote. As long as it's a provisional and it's done right. All right, folks. So also in election update news, did you guys see Khanna standing on a stage with Graham Platner? Did you see this? You guys know Khanna, right? Khanna, the guy that for the last year has been trumping up this whole idea of the Epstein scandals.
He's Massey's buddy, and Kay Pasto isn't here to say Pinecone.
This is one of the most disgusting things I think I've ever seen. So Khanna, who by the way is one of the best friends in the world with a guy named Trita Parsi, who also happens to have opened and been a co-founder of the National Iranian American Council, which many people have argued, and it's even been adjudicated in court, that operates on behalf of the Iranian regime literally as a propaganda arm for the Iranians. Khanna, who loves to accept endorsements and awards and spend time with those people, is standing on a stage after spending the last year trying to attack and destroy the Trump administration over the Epstein files, demanding that every woman needs to be believed, transparency for the Epstein victims, which we all expect and demand for those who are willing to name their predators, is now backing and supporting and stumping on behalf of Graham Platner. Can you believe this?
Yeah,
just the gall of these people, just to pretend like he didn't spend the last year arguing against the exact opposite stuff that he is now supporting in Graham Platner. The exact opposite.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
if it
unbelievable.
weren't for double standards, they wouldn't have any standards at all. And remember, these are Quincy Institute people. They've been given awards and all kinds of things by the Quincy Institute, and that's funded by the NIAC.
That's right. I mean, you guys read the New York Times article about Graham Platner, right? His multiple girlfriends who talked about him being aggressive and having violent streaks, masturbating in porta potties, fantasizing about raping intruders so that he can demonstrate his.
But not in a gay way, Patriot Dad. Not
No,
in a gay way.
no,
in a
there
dominant way.
There is no other way to do that. It is absolutely in a gay and dominant way. So what? He's a top, big deal. He likes to be the dominant in those relationships, in those occurrences, those assaults that he's talking about. The guy that has the Totenkopf tattoo on his chest, Khanna. There he is. There's Khanna right there. Standing with him.
Platner, Khanna.
There he is.
Platner's the one with the tattoo. Just
Platner's, well, I mean, does it matter at this point because they accept him?
I mean, exactly. Even, dude, I could not believe Chuck Schumer the other day when they were asking him questions after that New York Times story came out. And they were like, do you still support? And he's like, we have to win that seat in Maine. Yep. And they're like, do you support this even knowing this? And he's like, we have to win that seat. Like, he kept saying we have to win the election. Like, these people are backing this after they've trashed Trump and called Trump actual Hitler and, you know, ICE his Gestapo and called all of us Nazis or Nazi sympathizers when it's somebody that's semi-nice. They just call you a Nazi sympathizer. These are all things that have been thrown out. Donald Trump has never exhibited any of this behavior, and the Democrats are 100% behind this. It's completely crazy to me. And has he proven yet? I haven't kept up with the drama on Fetterman saying I'll trade in my hoodie for a suit if Platner will prove that he never sent any inappropriate pictures to minors on Kick. I haven't kept up with that, so I don't know if he's proved anything or not, but I did see there were some blows exchanged on X between the two of them.
No, he didn't prove anything. In fact, he did the one thing that you should always expect for people who are avoiding accountability to do. He immediately blamed it on the Jews. Yeah, immediately. What he said was John Fetterman takes money from AIPAC, therefore any attack that he levels against me is irrelevant. That's basically the point that he made.
Yeah, so about that, the A in AIPAC stands for American.
I know.
These are American Israelis. It's not Israel people.
It is amazing to me how often I come across these total life loser morons on social media who argue, why isn't AIPAC registered under FARA? It's like, how stupid are you? How dumb are you people?
Has anyone seen any of the evidence of NIAC? And them being tied to literally the IRGC, Massey and Khanna are tied, and Marjorie Taylor Greene and
Joe Kent is now
on Omar what's her name?
Jayapal.
Yeah, whatever it is. Durka lady. They all take money from them. They're all tied to them, and NIAC has ties to the literal IRGC.
Well, not only do they have ties to it. So back in the day, and one of the reasons why Trita Parsi ended up leaving the NIAC is because he wanted to escape the label that was slapped on his organization in a civil court, because the NIAC sued a journalist who was arguing that the NIAC was acting on behalf as a foreign agent for the Iranian regime as a propaganda arm, and the NIAC sued him. And the judge found in the ruling, and I showed this multiple times, the judge found in a ruling that they in fact were acting, or at least appeared to be acting, as a foreign agent for the Iranian regime. By the way, Trita Parsi left, started Quincy Institute, the same Quincy Institute who is now payrolling Joe Kent to write on behalf of them.
And you have these Muslim extremists running for office across the country. There's one running in Utah. It's completely crazy to me. And if you look, you have what's her name? I think it's Sarah something.
Sarah Adams?
Nope. The person that's supporting all these campaigns and like campaigning with them publicly. What is her name? I can't remember. But it's crazy that anyone votes for these people knowing that they're supported by the people that are tied to the IRGC and actual terrorist networks, the Samuddin, same with all these protests. I mean, I can't even explain to you what I found today about this ecosystem and the steering committees. If anybody remembers that whole fight on X over Braver Angels and them thinking they were going to come out and try and say we were wrong. Well, I mentioned the steering committee. That is a thing. It's mentioned in that lawsuit that I reference all the time against Mahmoud Khalil and the national, what's it called? In Students for Justice in Palestine, the NSJP, the National Students for Justice in Palestine. A lot of these organizations have been found to have ties to the Samuddin, who 100% has ties to terrorists. Mahmoud Khalil, that thing I was telling you about, the X post, that's somebody who's literally saying that the IRGC is going to stand up for them and, get revenge for them. And it's somebody from the American University Beirut. I know you guys have heard me say American University Beirut because who's on the board of trustees at the American University Beirut? Oh, that's right. Katherine Mayor, the same chick that was on the board of Signalgate with the leaked things, also happens to be friends with the owner of The Atlantic. Oh, the outlet that leaked all the Signal stuff. Also on the board of NPR. Also on the board of Access Now, which is a literal U.S. CIA propaganda thing in the Middle East, studied in Egypt, involved in color revolutions in Africa. Like what? I mean, this is wild. Like the
it's
connections that continue, the dots that just keep continuing to be connected. I see these names, these organizations, these people, and then it's like on a weekly basis, at least more dots are connected. Like these names pop up and I'm like, are you kidding me? There's no way that this ties back to all this stuff that I thought, okay, put on your tinfoil hat because this looks sketchy. And then Wikimedia too. She's on the board of Wikimedia, which is Wikipedia. Crazy. I mean, I was like, this chick looks like she's CIA. There's no way she's not. And then what are we finding? Weird. Also, her mom is a legislator, I think in Connecticut. I mean, the things just keep connecting, and no one picks up on this. And no one. I don't know if our government's looking at it. They should be if they're not.
I think they probably are. They may not looking at be able to get to the depths that you are because you're hyper focused on it. But I'm here to tell you folks, they are in fact looking at these networks. They are looking at them. They are being looked at. And whether or not they find what we expect them to find is a different story, but they are in fact being investigated. I suspect if this goes the way that I think a lot of us think it will, you're going to see some pretty big name people on the hot seat relatively quickly. I mean, you hear Dan Bongino talk about this all the time. They're looking at these people. They're investigating these people. I mean, we just saw Hunter Biden come out of nowhere, reactivate his account, has amassed almost 750,000 followers just since the few days before his interview with Candace Owens, right before she goes over to Russia and spends time at the same conference with Alexander Dugin. And it is already starting to leak out that they are planning a major psychological operation in this country coming from that particular conference. And it's probably going to include more people, like Hunter Biden, for example. Hunter Biden is now a star on social media simply because somebody wants him to be there. It's that simple. He was tapped and said, you are going to now operate on behalf of whatever this color revolution, information, psychological operation that we're running. And you're going to basically go out and do the work so that we can help you to rehab your name and your image. That's what's happening right now with Hunter Biden. Tens of millions of views on his post. This is the same guy who is literally an entire book has been compiled of how disgusting of an animal of a human being he is.
Yeah, I have it right here. Also, did you see Data Republican went at him too?
Yeah,
It
I saw
was
that.
kind of good. She said
saw
a
that.
hello, Hunter Biden. Also to who was it that said it? Darcy, Mr. Darcy,
Mm-hmm.
thinks that I should put out a weekly newsletter. They said they would pay for it. Fun fact, you can subscribe to me on X for $1 whole. And then you guys need to force me to actually post stuff for subscribers only, because it took me like an entire month to figure out how to post to subscribers only. And then I forget that it exists. So
Mr. Darcy, is that
do
like an
that.
ode? Is that like an ode to Pride and Prejudice? Is that what
I
Mr.
think of
Darcy
the
is?
one. I think of the one with Renee Zellweger, but I think it's actually like Pride and Prejudice. Yeah, like
Yeah,
a
I think that's
classical work.
my wife just made me watch it, and there's actually a spin-off series out of British TV that my wife is watching right now. It's based on the daughter that was kind of the obscure in the background. I don't remember her name because I don't really care, but she's watching that right now. So okay, so it is Mr. Darcy. Got it. My wife would love that. I want to play something for you, SK, and I want your opinion on this. You may have heard it already. I don't know. Folks in the chat, let me know if you've heard this, but I want your honest opinion on the psychological condition that this person and people who think like this person finds himself in. Ready? Here we go.
Totem pole tattoo, the Nazi tattoo. How do you kind of?
Somebody said that they talked to somebody who had seen one of those or wore one of those, and it was silver, and it didn't even occur to him that it was the same thing. I think people are making as much of it as they can because they don't have a lot of substance around anything else. And if they did, we'd hear about it, believe me. They are trolling for dirt.
What if he has like a Israeli flag tattoo or something? Would that be a deal breaker?
For me?
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
That would be
Israeli?
the deal breaker?
Yeah, because I don't support genocide, and he doesn't either. And that would show that he's being inconsistent.
What?
And he's been very consistent about that. Straight across the board.
This can't be real.
It's real.
This is satire, right?
No,
She's
very
joking.
real. Very
She
real,
can't
SK. That is an actual potential voter for Graham Platner at a Graham Platner event, asked by a journalist, what are your thoughts on the Totenkopf wearing tattoo that Graham Platner has on his chest? And she tried to come up with every possible excuse she could think of why she is justifying cuddling up to somebody that has a Nazi SS tattoo on their chest. And then she went on, folks, I don't know if you caught it, but she went on to say that Israel is involved in genocide while justifying wearing a tattoo of the organization that was responsible for managing the concentration camps and the deaths of millions of Jewish people.
Yeah, I don't support genocide, so I'm out on Israel. But yeah, those Nazis, they might be okay. Like what? What? Dude, I can't even believe this is real life. Are we living in the Twilight Zone? Where is Ashton Kutcher? He's got to be jumping out any second to say we're being punked. This can't be real.
Yep. Well, I have a timeline cleanse because I think we need one after that because my brain hurts after
I
seeing
didn't put very many in there. The good ones aren't in there because they take time to screen record.
Well, the fellas will tell you don't screen record anything. Send them a link and they'll drop it in the Dropbox for us, like
I
Flipmaster
heard
Jake
that,
did
but
for
I
me.
feel bad asking them to do stuff.
Well, apparently it worked because that Glenn Beck clip I played, I didn't do anything except give them the link and they played it, which is pretty awesome. No, I take that back. The Graham Platner lady's the link, and then he provided the extra Glenn Beck clip for free. So he gave that to me without me asking. All right, timeline cleanse.
Want it, Hunter. Whoops. Anyone have change?
I have no idea what that was supposed to be, but it looked funny.
Seriously. Did you not see Hunter Biden?
No, I saw Hunter
complaining
Biden.
about he was complaining about the fact that he doesn't like it that people are always photoshopping and posting stuff with him with a crack pipe in his mouth with the bulb on the end, because you guys, I don't know if you are aware or not, but Hunter Biden is going to tell you, just like he's going to tell you in that interview, that crack is so much better for you than alcohol. And it's pure. It's just baking soda, and tell you how to make it. But also, if you weren't aware, there is no glass bulb on the end of a crack pipe. So
he's upset.
Everybody's getting it wrong.
So he's upset that people are photoshopping in the wrong type of bowl that he's using. All right, we got to see that again. Hold on.
On it, Hunter. Whoops. Anyone have change?
Oh, I get it now. I get it now.
Yeah.
I get
So,
it.
but
Okay.
also you need to pause it when he's got his mouth up there because
Want it, Hunter.
I mean, unless I get my book out. Yeah, there. Pause it. Oh,
Whoops.
Hold on.
Anyone have
Hold on.
change?
it's a little
We'll bring it back.
fast.
Right
Yeah,
there.
there you go. Okay. So
Ah,
my friend that did this whole book that is basically a national treasure and deserves like the Pulitzer or
yes.
whatever it is you get for what's the one for reporting?
I think it is a Pulitzer, isn't it? Pulitzer
No,
Prize.
I don't know.
Oh,
Whatever.
let's give him a Presidential Medal of Honor.
Dude, he needs something because they worked their asses off on this. But Hunter Biden sued them
Yep.
over this book, over the whole laptop thing and releasing all of this stuff. But when they released it, they were like, we can't release these photos because they're explicit photos. He really likes himself and he really likes to take pictures of himself. And he likes to take pictures of himself doing things that are completely inappropriate to take pictures of yourself doing. But he likes to
with
do
people
it.
he should not be doing it with because he, for some
Definitely.
reason, he always seemed to ignore the fact that there was like a child in the background of those photos.
Well, or yeah. Also, I think some stuff's going to be coming out at some point in time about the women that were brought across state lines via things like the railroad that the Amtrak that Hunter Biden just happened to sit on the board of during that time, but crazy. But anyway, when they were trying to figure out how they were going to alter
Do we have to
these
keep this picture up
pictures-
anymore?
No, yes.
Okay.
They took, because they're genius, also trolls like Trump. And they cut out Hunter Biden's mouth because this is when Hunter Biden was at the dentist and he was getting his veneers replaced and they had taken off the veneers that he already had on. And that's what was under his veneers. And he took a selfie of himself because he really, really, really likes himself. He took a picture of himself like that. And it was in his iCloud and computer and all of that. And they took and cut out his mouth, and that's what they used to censor all of the photos of his no parts.
Okay. Yeah, this is disgusting. I'm having a hard time looking at my screen. Family Crest says they call that journalism award the Throaty in honor of Bob Woodward. I don't know if that's true or if they're joking, but is that what it's called? Seriously,
No, I
Family
don't
Crest?
think
Is it
so.
called the Throaty?
No, I don't
Are you
think
pulling
so.
our leg? I have no idea. All right, I'm getting this off my screen because I can't take it anymore. That's disgusting. Why do we keep moving? We should not be moving like that.
Don't ask me. I have no idea.
So we are an hour and 7 minutes in, and we've barely got through the first topic.
But we've been talking seamlessly. It's been great.
It has been great.
Not a shit show at all.
No, because you know what? We don't have anyone here that is like had been drinking since 9 a.m.
Dude, and my power went out like 2
I know.
seconds before we were supposed to be on live, and I didn't think I was going to get on in time because it took a while for my Starlink to boot back up. Well, it was like 5 minutes before, 4 minutes before. I got here just in time. It was kinda
Starlink does
crazy.
take a long time to boot, but when it does, it's pretty reliable.
Yeah.
Pretty reliable. All right, let's do an Iran war update, shall we? Because I think we need one. So we all know that the Iranian conflict just seems to be dragging longer and longer and longer and longer and longer and longer. It's almost like there is somebody out there who is trying to keep this thing going on long enough to be able to impact the midterm elections. That's the bottom line. That's what's happening. The Iranian regime is trying to hold on for dear life while their economy is collapsing. Their currency is literally crap at this point. They are, if they're not already, and I think they probably are, they're very close to having to dump large swaths of their oil into the ocean or burn it off because they have nowhere to store it. There have protests in the streets happening again. The former, whatever his name is, Zaravi, what's that guy's name? The guy that, the prince, do you know what his name is, SK? The prince that was supposed to be coming back, or?
Pahlavi.
Reza. Yeah.
Pahlavi.
Prince Reza.
Pahlavi.
We'll call him Prince Reza. Is
As a
supposed
matter
to
of
be.
fact, I was looking at the whole family tree today because I knew one of the family members when I was growing up, and I was trying to figure out exactly how they related because I thought I was right, but yeah, their whole family tree is on the internet.
That's right. Well, he apparently is now indicating to protesters that it's time for them to get back in the streets to take their country back. Because I think that they are at a place internally where they recognize that the fractures among their leadership is so strong, so deep and wide that it's taking almost a week to get any type of a response from them anytime the Trump administration tries to communicate with them. And then, they are, is my argument that what you're seeing play out right now in the Middle East is an Iranian regime that is trying to hold on, an IRGC that is trying to drag this out. That's why you see them still operating through Hezbollah, attacking Israel responding into Lebanon, Donald Trump playing good cop, where Israel is playing bad cop. But the bottom line is, folks, we just need to continue to be patient because they're getting very, very close to the end of this. And I would argue, this is just my opinion, but I would argue that there is a reason why this last volley of attacks from the Iranian regime happened. And I think it's this right here. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but yesterday in Arabian news, because you don't see this anywhere in US media, the media is not covering this. They refuse to cover it. Pakistani Prime Minister Sharif says that final objective in US-Iran talks is about to get over the finish line. You see, this is why Donald Trump is out there basically telling people in his True Social post to just sit back and relax because the end is almost here. And I'm convinced that what you're seeing play out from Hezbollah and Lebanon through Iran is a last-ditch effort to try to stop this from occurring. This is why Donald Trump is holding tightly to the idea of continuing the ceasefire, because they're very, 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 very close. Very close.
Do you really think that Iran is going to hold up any kind of agreement?
No, I don't, but that's not the point. The agreement needs to be inked. The Trump administration will then say, we are done here. Now it's time for the Abraham Accords and the Middle Eastern Gulf states to take ownership of their own region. That's what will happen. And then Israel will be able to do whatever Israel needs to do to defend themselves. Who, by the way, has every right to defend themselves. Is my opinion, SK, I don't know if you share this, you're welcome to disagree with me, but it is my opinion that Israel has the right to take out Hezbollah strongholds in Lebanon as often as they need to feel safe in their own country.
Yes.
Period.
Also, I think it's important for people to understand if you're going to go on a TikTok live panel and debate, you should probably know the definition of Zionism.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, like, number one, if you're going up to debate Israel and Iran and call people Zionists and say you're against Zionism, you should probably know the definition.
Uh-huh. Do you want to give everyone a definition of it?
I mean, in a simple definition of it is just you believe in Israel's right to exist as a state.
Yeah, that's right. Exist as a state. And the argument that many of them make is that they don't even have the right to exist anymore, because you can't reasonably say that you don't have the right to defend yourself. So now they're just basically saying, yeah, they don't even have the right to exist. They don't think that the way that they came into being is legitimate. They certainly don't think that Israel being attacked by its neighbors for the last 60 years gives them justification for responding and defending themselves. And to that, I say, I don't care. Sorry, I don't care. The problem is ours is a world ruled by the aggressive use of force. You guys have tried to use force to remove Israel from the region, and you have failed every single time. And were it not for Donald Trump standing in between Israel and Iran right now, I guarantee you the entire country of Iran would be a parking lot right now.
I don't know about that. The Israelis and the Jewish people are carrying people. When have you ever seen wars happen where there are like pamphlets dropped because, the government isn't telling their citizens what's coming? They're not giving them alerts telling them to shelter in place or to go to a bomb shelter. None of those things, because the more destruction, the better for their propaganda campaigns. When have you seen the enemy feeding the other side of the war? When have you seen any of these things in history? When have you seen these things?
Well, only when reasonable countries like us and Israel engage in military conflict. We're the only
Weird,
ones that do
right?
that. Yeah,
Right.
we're the only ones.
But it's a genocide, and Israel is the big bad monster because they want to exist without having bombs launched at them every day. And, terrorists getting in, what are they called? The gliders and coming over the border into festivals and killing and raping, my bad, women in the streets. I mean,
Yeah. Look, folks, statistically speaking, even the argument that Israel is engaged in a genocide in Gaza is just factually not right. If you look at the death rate during military conflicts that have occurred throughout the last however many decades and centuries, you're going to find that it is generally right in line or a little bit below standard death rates for conflict. Even in the instance where when Hamas has burrowed themselves into the civil structures of the Palestinian people in Gaza to the point where they put their rockets on schoolyards and they put their headquarters in hospitals and they literally barricade themselves around women and children. Israel has done such a fantastic job of protecting civilians that the death rate is no higher than in any other conflict throughout reasonable modern history.
and then the Biden administration was allowing those doctors and people in those hospitals that were that knew these things were going on and were perfectly okay with it to come to the United States, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. I want to switch gears here because this comment is right in line with where I think we're going to go next. You can't say Israel owns us and then get mad when Trump tells them what to do. Yeah, I mean, you can't, but I'll make another argument here. There are people now who, well, let's switch gears. I'm going to get back to this. So Elise 616, we're going to get back to this because the cognitive dissonance that you're starting to see from the information warfare that's going on in this country is at the level of straight psychotic behavior at this point. Raise your hand in the chat if you have come into contact with somebody who's been talking about Section 224 of the NDAA. Raise your hand. Anybody? You have? I know I have, SK. I know we've all come across this crap. It was so bad. I did a video on this.
You didn't get the memo that Israel's taking over the United States military? They're just integrating them into the U.S. military?
Yeah. Yeah, we are being told that NDAA Section 224 is a total usurpation via integration, a loss of sovereignty by Patriot Voice. This guy has a pretty decent sized YouTube channel, really relatively smaller account on X, but is an actual FAGA influencer out there who's pushing the narrative from his bot and sock puppet army accounts like Petra, saying NDAA Section 224 is a usurpation via integration. But it gets much worse than that. You guys got to see what these people are trying to convince people of. Now you've got the same person. This is just mind-boggling to me. A truly horrifying Red Dawn scenario could unfold in America if our military merges with the IDF. Not only is it possible, but it's probable. What he's talking about here is his belief that by merging the military and the IDF together, the military is going to use the IDF to go door to door to confiscate American firearms. That is the level of insanity these people are operating under. They actually believe and are trying to convince you that the purpose of the NDAA Section 224 is so that the military can use the IDF to go door to door to confiscate your guns. And he went through an entire AI conversation.
Didn't Kamala Harris say she wanted to go in people's homes and make sure they were storing their firearms properly? Didn't Virginia just pass a law to ban ARs, assault rifles? By the way, AR definitely stands for assault rifle. Aren't the Democrats the ones that are all gung-ho for gun control and universal background checks, which fun fact, if you go to purchase a firearm, you have to fill out a 4473 form. You get a background check, or you don't get one if you don't pass it. I don't understand. Somebody's going to have to make this make sense for me. The same people saying that voters in California shouldn't have to show ID, or anywhere in the country should have to show ID to vote because they don't want to disenfranchise a single voter. They want you to have to show an ID and jump through all sorts of hoops to exercise your fundamental right that's given to you by God to protect your life.
SK, these are the same people who have been arguing for the last year that Israel controls the president. And the only reason why we are engaged in this conflict in Iran is because we have to be in order to do Israel's dirty work, because they can't do it themselves. And yet these same idiots in the same breath will then take to their social media accounts to try to convince their audience, and some of them are stupid enough to buy it, that the Section 224 of the NDAA is designed to give the IDF the authority to go door to door in this country to confiscate your guns. They can't defend themselves from Iran, but they can defend themselves against the millions and millions and millions of firearm owners in this country. These people are retarded. They're retarded.
Actually
retarded, functionally retarded. Like, is there a better word to describe them than retarded?
I mean, I can't think of one. I mean, they're definitely propagandized, and they believe this with their whole chest. We saw that white liberal woman saying that she can support a candidate that has a Nazi tattoo and all these terrible things in their past. That's fine. But I'm out on the actual woman that's not a Republican, that only votes with Trump like 50-something% of the time. And I could never vote for somebody with an Israeli flag tattoo because genocide.
That's right. Well, here's Alex Jones. Alex Jones. What the hell happened to Alex Jones? Does anyone know?
Dude, I don't know.
I have an opinion. I have a theory. I think that he was so broken by the loss of InfoWars, not only emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, but also from a lack of resources. And now he is stuck doing his own research. He doesn't have the team. He doesn't have the reach. He doesn't have the people around him that were able to do the type of work that they did during the heights of InfoWars. So now it's just him making a total fool of himself, because I actually think this guy's an idiot, an absolute idiot. Here he is saying, just in case you missed it, here is Benjamin Netanyahu in his own words, thanking Congress for implementing his plan to take over the U.S. military and intelligence services. Holy crap. This is a letter from Bibi Netanyahu thanking Congress for using his plan to transition the military aid that we give them from direct aid to cooperation and partnership in technology sharing. Because it was Bibi's idea to say, hey, we're not going to just take direct payments from you anymore. Instead, we want to enter into a relationship where you get and we give each other. We share resources, we share technology, we share advancements, we share research and development, we share intelligence, we share data where it makes sense. That's how a partnership should work in the modern era. That was his idea. And yet this idiot, Alex Jones, is running around out there saying that this is an integration in our militaries. And I'm convinced it's because this idiot hasn't actually read the NDAA. I'm convinced that none of these people have read it. They have no idea what the hell they're talking about.
Dude, they don't even know the definition of Zionism, and they're throwing it around every day, all day.
No, here's another one. You're going to love this one, SK. You know these people. Catholics for Catholics. Integration of the U.S. military with the IDF. Further link our incredible armed forces with the regime that engages in genocide, buys off our politicians, and drags us into wars of their behalf. But wait a minute. If we're being dragged into a war on behalf of Israel because they can't do it themselves, how then are they also going to come into this country and confiscate all of our firearms? Catholics for Catholics. You guys know that organization, right? That's the organization that recently had General Flynn, Candace Owens, that Prigine chick, Joe Kent, Tucker Carlson, all speak.
And what's crazy is I bet you can go to a lot of these people's accounts that claim to be MAGA and voted for Donald Trump. And if they were on social media during 2023 and 2024, I bet you can find posts or at least replies where they were arguing with people about the Second Amendment and the definition, what exactly a comma is and what a semicolon is, because they definitely don't understand commas and the word integration.
Yep. Here's my favorite, though. This guy, you can't see it because of the border, but this guy, I think it's Wolf of Wall Street, I think is his name. Hold on, let me find. I want to find him.
It says his username right there. It's
it's Yote
YOTV.
of Street, but he has, I think, a Coyote of Wall Street or something. I want to find his actual, like his screen name. There it is, Coyote of Wall Street. This is supposed to be one of the researchers of the Fago team. This is supposed to be one of the guys. You may not know this, but he's one of the people who early on, when they started to investigate Turning Point USA, came up with this entire concocted theory that millions of dollars had been embezzled out of TP USA from Tyler Boyer and a few other Boyer. What's his name? Tyler something or other. What's his name? Tyler Boyer. Anyway,
did I have it unmuted when I was eating ice?
Yeah, I couldn't hear you.
My bad. I'm sorry.
That's all right. He's the one who tried to put together this entire narrative that they had embezzled millions of dollars, and that's the reason why Charlie Kirk was assassinated, because he found out about it. It was this guy and other people who put that together. Now he is making the case that the reason why Congress is using the NDAA Section 224 to implement this change in the Memorandum of Understanding is because it creates a binding relationship with a foreign nation and our critical defense and military systems. And then he goes on to argue that the framers wrote Article 2, Section 2 to require a 2/3 Senate vote for any agreement that binds us to another country. He's trying to make the case that this is in fact a treaty, not just an expansion of an existing cooperative Memorandum of Understanding, and that it requires 2/3 votes of the Senate. And then because he's a total idiot, he then makes the case that this is the reason why the Republicans are trying to nuke the filibuster. Because the filibuster and the vote for a treaty are the same thing, apparently, to these idiots. Are you tracking, SK? Are you following this? Does this make any sense to you at all?
No.
Oh, that's the point. That is exactly the point. The information warfare is all they have. And this guy's not stupid. These people are not stupid. They know that what they're saying and what they're doing is so incomprehensibly stupid that only the dumbest people in this country will believe it. The problem is there's a whole lot of dumb people in this country, and they know it.
I don't think the average person understands how stupid the average person is, to be honest. I just don't think they do. I think the stupidity is only painful for the people around them.
I think we have a super chat. We do. Thank you, Errol Weathenall. W2F.
Yes, that's our South
How
African
over
friend.
medicated are these people?
Very.
Very. And the problem is most of them have been vaccinated. So it's not that they're over medicated. It's that their entire DNA has been altered permanently as a result of their subservience to their globalist masters.
Holy cow. Do you see this super chat?
Which one? Oh, you got another one?
Yes.
I am director for Michigan for United for Freedom. After 5 years, we have our election data to the DOJ. They're listening. We will win and God will prevail.
So they gave their election data to the DOJ. I mean, that's
they were
crazy.
fighting that, weren't they?
Yes.
They were fighting that pretty hard. That's awesome. Congratulations on helping to get that done. It sounds like, I don't know, Coach Kimberly, did you have anything to do with that? Or did the Michigan authorities just like relent and give it over? Because Trump administration has basically threatened to cut off all federal funding for states that don't do this.
They should, especially after the report came out of Congress on the fraud in Medicaid, in Medicare. I'll have to look.
I think Medicaid is a state program. Medicare is the federal
welfare.
program.
It's welfare. Congressional report on Minnesota welfare fraud. My bad. That's crazy. I mean, and I've been saying for a long time that they knew about all of this. And remember, I know people forget and nobody wants to talk about it, but Vance Bolter, I was deep into that guy. I knew everything about that guy except his blood
Careful.
type.
Was it just the tip deep or was it like super deep?
It was deep. I was all up in there. Okay. But he,
By the way, can I just say, if you were a person in this world, the last thing you want to happen to you is to have SK deep up inside of you. I'm telling you, you do not want that to happen. It's
I
bad time for you if she starts
Yeah.
crawling up inside of your anus, taking a look at what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, all the NGOs, all of the history, the federal law enforcement training, the security work that was done in places like Gaza, because, regular everyday Americans do that. Definitely not suspicious at all. And then I kept saying, this is tied to the fraud in Minnesota. The entire time, I can go back and pull ex post from before Vance Bolter was even taken into custody. And I said, I've got it. I have all of it. And what do you know? When they took him into custody, what did he do? He left a letter for Cash Patel. And what did he say in that letter? Oh, he mentioned Tim Walz.
Didn't he mention Keith Ellison too?
Yep, he did.
They're all involved.
And the fraud, he had an NGO that
Mhm.
does like
Security,
nutrition things.
doesn't he?
Well, and also the one that does the nutrition stuff. And he worked for a like food company at one point in
Mhm.
time, and he learned how to like mass distribute and produce food. He talks about that in his experience. There's some interesting things there, and I hope they're digging deep enough to find it all, because before he was taken into custody, I said I would bet money that there are people involved, including around, if not himself, Tim Walz, allegedly, in my opinion only. There's some shady stuff there, and I know everyone wrote that letter off as he was just some crazy guy. I don't think so.
Well, there's a reason why that letter hasn't gotten the publicity that it should, and it's probably because it was quickly snatched up and is now being reviewed for evidence.
Well, it was put out in the court documents. It's in the court filings. You can just pull it up and read it.
Right. So Bolter killed that woman because Walz told him to, probably because she voted against Medicare for illegals. I mean, I'm not going to say that because I don't want to get, but
I don't know about, I mean, I know about how she voted, but I also know the conversations that took place, and I saw her crying on TV, because she was the sacrificial lamb that had to vote because they had to get it passed because there were other things that needed to happen. I don't necessarily think that vote had a whole lot to do with it. I think it had to do with the Feed Our Future fraud and all the other fraud taking place in the state of Minnesota.
Yep. Okay, Coach Kimberly, thank you so much for the super chat. Just for your awareness, you don't necessarily have to do a super chat to get us to pay attention. If there's something that you want to tell us, you can just send a comment and I'll throw it up. United for Freedom is in 35 states now. The DOJ has everything. Everyone can see our information on our website. They are still changing certified elections. Who's changing certified elections? Is it the fraudsters or is it the good guys? Because I think it's the fraudsters, isn't it? I'm interested on that response. Coach Kimberly, who's changing certified elections? Okay, hopefully Coach will catch that and will respond to us. I want to switch gears a little bit because, no, I don't. We're going to stay on this NDAA topic. Raise your hand in the chat if you have had a chance to actually read Section 224 of the NDAA, because everybody out there is trying to convince you that this is a wholesale takeover of the United States by Israel, a wholesale takeover. I mean, there are people telling you that we are ceding our sovereignty to a foreign country through NDAA Section 224. The problem is nobody has actually read Section 224. Hand not raised. All right, GR Patriot, you haven't read it, which means if you haven't, a lot of people haven't read it. So we're going to read it together because I would love for any of you guys to show me in this document where exactly it indicates that we are ceding our sovereignty to a foreign country. Show me where we are infusing the United States military with the Israeli military. So this is it. It's only 5 pages. It's very, very short.
You notice those commas?
Yeah,
They mean something.
they do mean something. All right, it starts here. Establishment. The Secretary of Defense shall designate an executive agent, as such term is defined in Department of Defense Directive 5101.01. Responsible for synchronizing cooperative efforts between the United States and Israel to expand and accelerate bilateral defense technology research, development, testing, evaluation, integration, and industrial cooperation.
Guys, they're integrating the IDF with the U.S. military.
They're integrating. But if you wait, they're going to tell you exactly how they're integrating. Exactly. And you're going to notice something. I want you guys to pay close attention to these documents that I put up on the screen, because you're going to notice that I've highlighted some very, very important sections of this document. Everything that you're looking at that's highlighted is the reason why they are terrified of this section. They're telling you, all of the FAGA influencers are telling you, this is what they really, truly care about. All right, so pay attention. Remember, it says synchronizing.
That's a good point, GP. Did you see that?
No, what he said.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. GP said, how can it be Department of Defense when it's the Department of War? The wording is not valid in the document.
Yeah. So this is just a draft, by the way. This hasn't even gone through markup yet. It hasn't been debated yet. It's basically a draft version of what they're planning to debate on this topic. So it will ultimately end up being cleaned up for sure. And a lot of this will probably end up being changed. This is basically just the staffers' attempt to try to get this into the NDAA legislation as a markup, which means it was probably written a while ago by some staffer or a group of staffers who put this together. All right, so what is it exactly that they are looking to synchronize and cooperate on? 1, identifying jointly developed or Israeli origin technologies with operational utility for potential integration into United States systems and programs of record. 2, potential. 2, ensuring collaborative research initiatives involving government, private sector, and academic institutions in the United States and Israel is done in a manner that protects sensitive technology and information and the national security interests of the United States. That is probably one of the most important sections of this right here, because one of the biggest arguments that you're hearing from the FAGA influencers and the fraudsters and the psychological operation executors is that we are going to be ceding all of our data, all of our critical infrastructure technology. We're going to be ceding everything to Israel. And it clearly states right here, ensuring collaborative research initiatives involving government, private sector, and academic institutions in the United States and Israel is done in a manner that protects sensitive technology and information and the national security interests of the United States and Israel. That right there just tells you that what these people are trying to convince you of, they're lying, because it's right here in black and white. 3, facilitating the transition of technologies from research and development into procurement and acquisition pathways. Establishing frameworks for joint ventures, licensing agreements, and United States. Hold on, let me pull up number 2. Let me get number 2 over here for you guys. I guess I probably could have just pulled this up on a website and read it to you that way. But it was important to me to make sure I highlight all the critical components of this, the things that they really, truly care about. Because really all they care about is the highlighted sections. All right. Production or manufacturing partnership with Israeli industry. Number 5, coordinating with relevant Department of Defense components, including the Irregular Warfare Technical Support Directorate, Capability Development and Innovation Divisions, the Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering, the Defense Innovation Unit, the United States Israel Operations Technology Working Group, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agencies, the Missile Defense Agency, and the United States Space Command, the military departments and other departments of defense entities as appropriate to align efforts and avoid duplication. And number 6, promoting joint training exercises and information sharing mechanisms to enhance operational readiness and deploy jointly developed technology. That's super scary, isn't it, folks? Did anybody hear anything at all about infusing and ceding our sovereignty?
They're just taking us over. They're totally taking us over, Patriot Dad. Did you not just read that out loud to all of us?
I
Come
would
on.
love, where does it say a takeover? Because
I mean, it said the word integrate, so that means they're going to be the same.
it said the word integrate, but it also says that is done in a manner that protects sensitive technology and information and the national security interest of the United States. I mean, that part's in there, right?
Yeah, it's pretty important.
It's a pretty important component, particularly if you're not trying to fully hand over all access to your critical data infrastructure. You know, the part that they don't want you to think is being done. All right, let's go on to page 3 real quick, because we're almost done.
I don't think people understand the amount of technology that Israel develops, not just military technology, but also medical technology and things like that. We get an actual return on our investment with Israel. And I mean, they implanted a completely 100% artificial heart into a human being, and it's like working. That's huge.
That's right. We'll go over some of that here in a minute. All right. So some of the things that are the cooperative efforts, and this was from the last page, but I'm going to zip through it real quick. So here's what we're cooperating with them on. The synchronized cooperative efforts under subsection A may be carried out through the following domains. 1, counter unmanned systems, including aerial, maritime, and ground platforms. Anti-tunneling and subterranean threats. 3, missile and air defense technologies. 4, artificial intelligence, quantum, machine learning, and autonomous systems. 5, directed energy and advanced sensing. 6, cyber defense, electronic warfare, and digital resilience. 7, biotechnology, biomanufacturing, and medical defense. 8, network integration, data fusion, and contested logistics. 9, defense industrial base cooperation, manufacturing, and co-production. 10, other emerging technologies as jointly agreed by the United States and Israel. SK, did you read anywhere in that section where we are cooperating with the IDF to give them the authority to go door to door to take our guns?
I mean, it says autonomous, so that means they can just do what they want to do, right? They can operate independently and just do what they want in the United States. Because
if it was a self-driving car, maybe.
I mean, these people are crazy.
It's insane. All right. Activities in coordination with other federal departments and agencies. The Secretary of Defense shall coordinate activities as appropriate with the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Commerce, and the heads of other relevant federal departments and agencies to ensure consistency with existing laws and regulations. That means, folks, for those of you paying attention, that there's oversight.
Uh-oh. You got to follow the laws and regulations.
Oversight. That's right. Oversight. Because we were told there was going to be no oversight. We were going to be ceding our sovereignty to Israel and to the IDF. Devil Dog says that apparently the section that we missed that gives them the ability to go door to door is section 11. Oh. Which is weird because that's missing from my copy of the document. All right. Interim progress update. No later. Oh, this is really good because apparently we're also being told that we're effectively giving the IDF wide open access to take over control of our military, to cede decision-making and responsibility of our operational decisions, our actions. We are giving the IDF full control of our military and our intelligence capabilities. That's what they want you to believe until you read this next section, where it says interim progress update. No later than 180 days after the date of enactment of this act, the Secretary of Defense shall provide to the Congressional Defense Committees an interim briefing.
Not a briefing.
A briefing. Because, hold on, I want to get to number 4. Because there is nothing that says ceding total operational control to a foreign country like actually mandating accountability to Congress through the legislation that you're trying to convince people.
Synchronized cooperative efforts, guys. That means they're just basically the same.
Yeah, these people are freaking idiots. All right, page 4, real quick. We're almost done, guys. This isn't very long. All right, the executive agent designated pursuant to subsection A, which, if you remember, the whole purpose of this is to designate a single individual in the Department of War that's job is to expand the relationship between us and Israel. All right, that's what this whole section is designed to do. The executive agent designed pursuant to subsection A and the efforts undertaken by such executive agent to lead Department of Defense implementation of the synchronized cooperative efforts described in this subsection. 2, the status of coordination department-wide with Israeli counterparts. Remember, we're talking about the report that's supposed to be given to Congress. 3, initial technology areas identified for accelerated cooperation and technologies with operational utility for integration into United States systems and programs of record. And 4, any early transition, prototyping, or integration activities initiated during the period covered by the update. And then it goes on and talks about the annual report that they're going to get.
No reports.
No,
Annually,
no.
That's not enough. It has to be quarterly, guys.
Annual report, not later than 1 year after the date of enactment of this act, and annually thereafter until 2030, the Secretary of Defense shall submit to the Congressional Defense Committees a report on implementation of the cooperative efforts described in subsection A.
Are you saying there's congressional oversight?
There's congressional oversight, which is weird.
Horror. You can't have congressional oversight if Israel's going to take over our military.
I mean, is Congress just going to stand by and let the IDF go door to door and take your firearms from you?
Yeah, obviously they're going to give them the key to your house. You don't even have to open the door.
2 goats and a dog. Late to the show. What is this document? I am reading section 224 of the NDAA, which we have been told by all of the fake ass black pill wanna be America first losertarians that this is the legislation that is being pushed to cede our national sovereignty and integrate the United States military with the IDF. Some people are even going as far as arguing that Congress is doing this so that the IDF can go door to door to confiscate your firearms. Like, that's what they're trying to convince you.
You're missing the Jews being a part of this and the fact that there's definitely writing in between all those words that you just can't see. You have to have some sort of special Jewish decoder ring to be able to read it and understand.
SK, you missed it. I actually highlighted it. I literally highlighted the
it's
Jews
the words
in the
in
document.
between the words that you can't see. You have to have a special Jewish decoder ring. You can't read it unless you're Jewish to understand how they're trying to trick the United States. Also, there's a Rumble rant.
Read the Rumble rant, can you?
Yeah. Where'd it go?
Hold on. Where's the Rumble rant?
Here it is. It is a $10 Rumble rant from Family Crest. It says, just because I love the Rumble chat.
And then below that, my niece came in and hit me with a baseball bat. What? Don't know what that means, but that's
I hope you're okay.
Should have been funny. All right, folks, bottom line here is that everything, I'm not going to keep going because the rest of it is basically just more confirmation that all the people who are trying to convince you that Section 224 is some conspiracy to cede U.S. sovereignty to Israel are freaking lying to you. They're just lying to you. And it takes, 7 minutes to go through all 5 pages of this document and read it for yourself? All 5 pages. That's it.
But you have to understand, these are the same people that filed that lawsuit over the UFC fight that's taking place. And these people are actual activists.
Well,
by the way.
But the problem is they're supposed to be our activists. These are people who pretend to be part of MAGA that are doing this right now.
Well, I mean, come on.
Yeah. All right, real quick, I want to go through this and then we're going to jump. SK, I don't know if you want to spend some time on Carmelo Anthony or if there's something else you want to talk about before we wrap. But let me just do this.
But everyone should also go read the original complaint that was filed in that UFC thing, because that's probably going to be interesting because that's next Sunday.
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday, the 14th, whatever day that is, Sunday.
So the question that I think we all need to be asking is, why should we want a deeper level of cooperation with Israel as a trading partner and a technology partner? So they actually have some of the most sophisticated missile defense technology in the world. And by the way, in case you haven't noticed, they are one of the only countries in the world that have been engaged in kinetic warfare their entire existence. So not only do they develop some of the most sophisticated technology, but it is basically the only battle-tested technology. You saw what happened when Iran went to China for their technology, right? As soon as it had to be battle-tested, it failed miserably. Israel's technology is battle-tested in ways that you can only get in kinetic warfare.
Not only that, they test a lot of our equipment too,
Yes.
because we don't get to have those conditions and all of that, and we don't get to, launch missiles and defense, whatever it is. I don't know anything about the military, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All the shit they use, some of that's ours, and they're literally testing it for us.
I mean, here's the bottom line. You really have three choices with which to partner with somebody to develop military technology. Three. Either you can do it all yourself, which is an okay option because we actually have a really advanced research and development and technology sector ourselves. The problem is ours is not nearly as battle tested as Israel. You can go to Russia, or you can go to China, or you can go to Israel. Now, let me ask you, of those three options, who do you think we should be going to? Should we go to China?
I think the Temu version is best because it comes the quickest. And I mean, it definitely costs the least. So probably the Temu version.
China's version?
Yeah, for sure.
It's cheaper.
And it comes quicker.
But it doesn't work. Just ask the IRGC.
That's just part of it. If you're getting it cheaper and quicker, sometimes
I would rather pay a little bit more in cooperation with Israel to get it. And by the way, this is also the first time this relationship with Israel will involve actual trade-offs in this partnership. So instead of us sending them $3.5 billion a year that they can then use to buy technology, they're not going to be getting any aid from us at all unless there's trading going on. Partnership.
And we get all of their technology and intel and everything else. And they're right there next to Iran. They also have great intel.
Yep.
They're pretty smart. Again, these same people that are talking terrible about Jewish people like Ryan Matta, you're going to have to pick a lane. Are these people 2.2% of the population so smart that they're running the entire world, including the United States? Or are they stupid and gross and all these other things? Like, pick a lane. Which one is it?
Pick a lane. Did we have another one? Nope, we already read that one. Okay. Yeah, so Waffles Bacon 5 says people who oppose this would rather be teaming up with a guy named Muhammad who has fireworks. Yeah, that's right. And there's a reason for that, because they want to actually cede sovereignty of our country to Islam. Just ask them. They'll tell you that Islam is fantastic, that it's safer to live in Islamic countries than it is in Western countries, that you don't have to worry about your daughters or your wives or any of that stuff. You don't have to. And that they actually have more reverence for Jesus Christ and the Virgin Mary than even we do. Like that's the position that they're trying to convince you of.
You know what I learned today? These people, keep this in mind when you hear these people railing against Israel and people that are saying Israel has a right to exist. The IRGC, especially during this last round of protests back at the beginning of the year when they were killing all those protesters, an Iranian girl today told me that one of the things that was happening to people she knows, by the way, they were, when they go to get the bodies after they've been killed by the IRGC so that they can have their burial and things like that, they had to remove the fingernail polish from the women's fingers. And if they didn't do so, the IRGC would pull their fingernails out.
These people are insane. So this is Stu Peters, who's one of the biggest mouthpieces of all the fake ass black pill wannabe America First losertarians, who is now fully entrenched in this idea that Iran and Islam would make a perfect fit for the United States. So he says, wow, what a refreshing and sensible take. So Iran reveres Jesus and Mary, but Israel believes Jesus is in hell burning in a pot of semen and excrement, and Mary was a whore. Which country seems like a more natural ally? Like, this is Stu Peters. Stu Peters.
Stu Peters is retarded.
Functional retards. That's what these people are. Functional retards. Evil functional retards. Because you know that they're only doing this for engagement. They don't actually believe this crap. None of these people actually believe what they are saying. They are doing it simply for engagement. SK, are you still there? Did we lose SK? I think we lost SK, folks. Is she frozen for everybody else? I hope her power didn't go out again. Yeah. Nikki for Freedom says, I don't think he's very functional. I'm going to text SK real quick. I think we lost her. All right, we're going to keep going. Actually, we're almost done, as a matter of fact. We only got a few more minutes. There's a few other things that SK put in here that I think maybe we can spend time. I wanted to talk about the Carmelo Anthony trial, but I don't know if we have enough time to do it justice. So we may save this for Wednesday. Bottom line is that it is not going very well at all for the defense. Like, it's not going well for them at all. They had over 20 prosecution witnesses. I think it was 21, 22. And from what I can tell, just about every single one of them told the exact same story. A story that is likely to end up putting Carmelo Anthony in prison for the rest of his life. One that is probably going to stir up, at least attempt to stir up another round of the types of riots we saw with George Floyd, or at least that feels like that's what they're attempting to do. But the bottom line is very, very simple. The case that was put on by the prosecution is pretty devastating. Here's a crazy theory. Did you know that in order to argue self-defense in most states and jurisdictions, you cannot have been the one who elevated the conflict to a lethal force conflict? Did you know that? Like, you cannot make a legal case that you feared for your life if you were the one who escalated the conflict to lethal force. So what does that mean? It's simple. It means that you cannot take a knife to a fist fight and use the knife in a fist fight and then say you felt like your life was in danger. You can't do it. Now, there may be some extenuating circumstances there. Like, let's say you're a 120-pound female and you've got a 300-pound person trying to attack you and rape you. It may be more reasonably justified to argue self-defense if you feel like you have to use your firearm to defend yourself, because the circumstances are a little bit different. But when you have a Carmelo Anthony, who is an athlete, a track runner, I think he was a football player too, may have been a little bit on the smaller side, but then you have the deceased, his victim, who was, I think, according to the coroner, weighed about 215 pounds, was like 6'1", was not that much bigger, and argued with him that he did not want to fight him. As a matter of fact, multiple witnesses on the stand remembered him telling Carmelo Anthony, I don't want to fight you, bro. I'm not here to fight you. I just want you to leave. The fact that he carried a firearm, carried a knife with him into a school event is going to be looked at it's going to be pretty heavily scrutinized, I think, in the decisioning here. Like, why do you bring a knife to a track meet unless you intend on using it for something? It's that simple. But the bottom line is, no matter how hard they try to convince people that this is a racial issue, that it was a bunch of white kids trying to bully a black kid, none of that matters. None of it matters at all, because you cannot be the aggressor in a deadly force situation and claim self-defense. Can't do it. As a matter of fact, the judge probably should have thrown out that affirmative defense in the first place, because he had all of the circumstances. I know they wouldn't because they want to have his day in court, but testimony after testimony after testimony after testimony is saying the same thing, that Carmelo Anthony is the one who escalated it, even after his victim told him, I'm not interested in fighting you. And then he stabbed him in the chest. I don't know how else to paint it for you folks, but so just pay attention to what you're going to see over the next week or so. Did this go to the jury? Do you guys know? Did this go to the jury already? Because I know the prosecution rested their case. Did the defense rest their case already? Do you guys know? I guess we can find out. We'll come back to that. He's probably going to spend the rest of his life in prison. And then you're going to start to see the race baiting propagandist try to turn this into the next George Floyd riots. It's not going to work, but they're going to try. And it's not going to work because reasonable people understand the basic fact that you cannot claim self-defense while being the aggressor. Can't do it. Closing statements tomorrow, according to the Amazing Torah. Awesome. Okay. There's a couple of really good accounts that are following this very, very closely. Sarah Fields on X is doing a great job. She actually had I think a 5-part series. She's sitting in the courtroom, actually sitting right next to the jurors, listening to every word, and has been documenting it. And then she's doing quick videos on what she's hearing and what she's seeing. I was actually going to pull some of that up and play it for you guys, but we're just about out of time. Maybe we'll do that on Wednesday. But it's pretty clear that the prosecution came to win, and the defense doesn't. I mean, if you're a defense attorney in this scenario and all the facts are literally saying that your client is the one who escalated the conflict to the use of lethal force, and you can't claim self-defense in that regard, how do you defend that? I mean, you don't want to go after the victim. You certainly don't want to try to impugn the character of teenagers on the stand. So what do you do? How do you defend? You don't. He's screwed, bottom line, which is why they're going to try to turn this into a race issue. But it's not going to work. Because honestly, I think most Americans are sick and tired of everything being turned into a race issue. And that's the reason, in my opinion, that's the reason why they've pivoted from race to everything's the problem with the Jews. They haven't done that in a while. They're making a little bit of progress with it, but you don't really hear much about race that at all in this country anymore. It's all about the Jews, because I think they've realized that they've burned all their credibility on race. So now they're going after the Jews. GR Patriot says civil war's coming. Mark my words. Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know, folks. I just don't know. All right. Well, we lost SK. This is actually kind of fun. I actually kind of like doing this by myself. What do you guys think? I know I've teased this in the past, but what do you guys think about Nom and I, maybe SK, if she feels up to it, doing smaller individual 20-minute or so lives like this, or maybe just pre-recordings? We may have some other stuff coming for you as well. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you this, but SK's got some things that she's working on that will add to the content, which I think would be super exciting. And then, of course, remember, don't miss this Friday. The back office production team has been working hard on something very special. It's so secret that I have no idea what it is. All I know is that it's something that we've never seen before and will not see again, at least according to them, until right before the election. I'm actually pretty excited to see it. So don't miss Friday. And then, of course, we're going to be here on Wednesday also. I'm expecting NomDePlume to be back on Wednesday, as long as he's not still in the doghouse or something. But he's probably in pretty good behavior right now because he's out whining and dining and building his company. But nonetheless, he is going to be here Wednesday, probably be a little bit more subdued compared to where he was the last time you saw him. And then we will see you guys on Friday. And also, one last thing. I think the back office production team updated the buffer video for the end of the show. I'm pretty excited about this. I hope this is the right one. Is this the right one? I think it is. Yeah, I think this is the right one. They updated it for us. So now I don't look like a total weirdo in it. All right, folks, we're out. We will see you on Wednesday. Nope, that's the wrong one. Hold on. I want the new one because I don't look weird in the new one. There it is. Yeah, look at that. Look, I look much better. Look at that. It actually looks like me right there in the middle. There you go. All right, folks, see you later.
Trading sacred liberties for power, gold, and twisted dreams. From the broken borders to the fields our forefathers tilled. The enemy is prowling, truth is silenced on or killed. But I'm a patriot source, forged in fire, standing tall. Bible as my sword and Old Glory as my call. No apologies for loving this blood-bought land. We'll charge the gates of darkness with the fire of the righteous stand. God bless the USA. We'll never bend or break. Patriots of freedom, warriors wide awake. They laugh at heaven's mercy, call our faith a dying flame. But when the storm clouds gather, we invoke the holy name. The serpent weaves through statutes, twisting justice into chains. Yet with God as our commander, victory still remains. Yeah, I'm a patriot source, forged in fire, standing tall. Bible as my sword and Old Glory as my call. No apologies for loving this blood-bought land. We'll charge the gates of darkness with the fire of the righteous stand. God bless the USA. We'll never bend or break. Patriots of freedom, warriors wide awake. So arm your heart with courage, let your spirit mount the steed. Ride against the shadows, truth and justice we